Well, good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. We had a bit of a slow start, just we had a few technical issues, but we are now here. So thank you very much for joining today. I'm Anika Millington, and I have got a coaching hub called the Cancer Club, which is a coaching hub for people that are walking or have been through the cancer path. I'll just do a really quick intro. I'm a stage 3 bowel cancer survivor. I went through the process about 6 years ago now, and I'm a mother of 3. And I have set up the Cancer Club because I adore coaching and I adore personal development. And after I had my journey, I found this massive gap between the walking through the cancer path and like, what's next? Because I felt fundamentally different, and I really wanted to explore that and figure out what that was and what that meant and how this journey fit into my future without dwelling on it and without being defined by it. So I coach people on all sorts of different things, and today I do this for Look Good Feel Better Australia as well, and so exciting to do it here. I've been looking forward to this all year. And today we're going to be talking about confidence and self-care, because it is super, super important. And when I say confidence, I mean the real kind, not the pretendy kind that we can all kind of turn on when we want to, but the real kind, you know, the real self-worth, confidence that we, excuse me, that we all really want to be able to feel. Now, let's go back to the beginning here. Now, confidence, whatever I'm coaching on, this is all in the notes that I sent through, or Christine sent through to you yesterday. I always weave through the coaching that everything is based on the fact that the most important relationship that we ever have is the one we have with ourselves. And as we all know, the grass grows where we water it. And just like we need to spend time working on our other relationships with our children, partners, husbands, friends, the one with ourselves often gets ignored. But that's essentially where everything starts. And so I guess I'm encouraging everyone today just to have a think about it from that perspective, and just get really curious about your relationship with self and about how everything that's going on has kind of affected that and where you would like it to be. So a lot of people are just walking around on autopilot, you know, and it's very easy. I was there once as well. We don't know what we want to do. We don't know where we want to be. We don't even know what we like half the time. You know, if somebody says, "What do you like to eat? What do you like to wear?" I say, "Oh, I don't know." So it's confidence comes from honoring the commitments we make to ourselves, and that's the real kind of confidence. You know, we can always just pretendy confidence and fake it till we make it, which also works. But the real kind of confidence, that real inner relaxing into that, it comes from honoring the commitments we make to ourselves. Now, every time we make a commitment to ourselves, big or really, really small, and we honor that, we're putting a shiny coin into our confidence bank. And over time, consistency, as your bank fills with coins, it grows and it grows and it grows. So you have this account to kind of pull from. So when life gets lifey and the big hard things happen, we have got that stuff in the bank, that reserve in the bank that we can pull from when we need it. And we've grown tools to be able to help whatever it is in life comes up, the challenges, to move through them with a bit more ease. And so to get there, we've got to start making some commitments. And I don't know about anybody here today, but sometimes I don't feel very good if I say I'm going to do something for myself and then I don't do it. I get really annoyed and really disappointed and honestly a little bit resentful. So making these commitments and having a solid self-care plan and sticking to it, that is how we gain that real confidence. I found personally the cancer journey, I lost a lot of trust in my body and lost trust in me. And building that back was really, really important to me, to make sure it was solid and real and there for good, you know. So no matter what happens down the track, I've got that there, and I've got that knowing, and I've got that self-trust. So it's just really getting curious about the things that we like and about ourselves, and starting to make some commitments to self and proving that we can do the hard things. You know, nobody would be here if you couldn't do hard things. And to summarize the confidence, it comes from honoring the commitments that we make to ourselves. Now, how do we get more of the confidence? Well, we develop a self-care plan, a solid self-care plan, and then we get consistent with it. We don't make excuses for it. And to be able to be consistent, we set it up like a menu. So what we're going to end up with today, or part of it, and you can sort of add to it in your own time, is a self-care menu. We'll break down self-care into 3 different parts and just start to get some ideas going on each part about what we like to do there and what feels really good and what resonates for us. And the idea is that when this is done, you can choose one thing from each part of each day to do, depending on how you're feeling, how you're tracking, energy levels, all of that kind of stuff. And how do we keep that confidence is being consistent with our plan. And the plan can grow and the plan can evolve, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. So the first thing we need to remember as well here is looking at any negative self-talk that we might have. Your voice is the one you hear all day. And so we've got to be nice to ourselves. I know we hear it all the time. We read it all the time. We know we've got to do it. But it's consciously stopping these negative comments or not helpful comments that we might say on the inside quite often. And I was really surprised the other day. I found this is a fun fact, a statistic that in a very, very recently released book, 80% of women are suffering from either imposter syndrome or a feeling of lack of worth. And I found that really fascinating because I thought it's just not okay. And a lot of that, I think, comes from the things that we tell ourselves on such a regular basis. Another fun fact, our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real thought and a fake one. Fact, doesn't know the difference. So if we tell whatever we're telling ourselves is being absorbed in our subconscious mind, and it's holding on to it because it doesn't know the difference between, I could tell my subconscious mind I'm wearing a black shirt today, and that doesn't know the difference between a black shirt or a striped shirt. So it's the same thing when I tell myself, I'm not good at that. Oh, you stuffed up again. Oh, you didn't do it again. Oh, you didn't exercise again. Oh, you didn't journal again. Oh, you yelled at the kids too much today. That's what gets absorbed. And that's what multiplies and I believe holds in our hearts, in our minds, in our bodies. So the self-talk is really important. And it's a habit of going, oi, stop, and change it to something else. That's another important one to know. And it's being consistent with it and getting really curious about yourself. Now, self-care, I love everything that Look Good Feel Better do with self-care. There's so many options and starting to kind of get to, even if whether it is the makeup or skincare or chair yoga, any of the activities available. It's just getting curious, having a go, and finding what works for you. Now, self-care is made up of, I personally believe self-discipline is the key to self-care. And I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but self-discipline means loving yourself enough to do the things that make you feel like the best version of yourself over time, and unapologetically so. Self-care is made up of 2 things, and that is habit stacking and self-discipline combined. So as I said, self-discipline is loving yourself enough to go, no, actually, I deserve this. I'm going to do what makes me feel good, because feeling good could be our baseline way of being most of the time. So that if we get ourselves to that baseline feeling good, means that when the good things happen, it's great. And when the not so great things that happen, we know what to do to bring ourselves back up to baseline, if that makes sense. And habit stacking is finding one habit that we have already and adding another one on top of it. And that creates consistency with a new one. So for example, we brush our teeth every night before we go to bed or every morning. If we're wanting to add in some supplements that might help us feel better, I know I'm terrible at taking my supplements, but it is something that I want to be consistent at. So I have my supplements by my toothbrush, brush teeth, take supplements. It's just adding another habit into something that you already do. Or for example, I love higher education. That's something that I'm really passionate about, and listening to podcasts and things. So when I go on my walk, I've got a podcast in my ear the whole time. So every time I walk, I get the podcast going in that I want to. Makes me look forward to the walk a little bit more. I don't feel resentful that I haven't got my time to listen to my podcast and get my education in. And then it's stacking things again. So might be people that like to do I've got a friend who has a walking treadmill mat by her desk. So walking treadmill mat, and I do all the admin tasks that I hate and that I always put off and that I never get done, but they're nagging over my head the whole day. So it's just finding those little ways. If it's a habit that you want to add in, whether it's water consumption, whether it's movement, whether it's skincare, whatever it is, it's just find a habit that you already have that you're pretty good at, and just stack it on top of there. And the consistency over time, you will start to do it like it is brushing your teeth. You know, we all form these habits. We have to turn up at work on time, or appointments on time, or get kids to where they need to be, or we already have these things that we have to do. So it is making our self-care routine just as important. And I always say to clients too, when you know what it feels like to feel good as your baseline, when you do that, or you feel like something's out, you go, I actually don't want to be like that. I want to feel good again. And you know what to pull from your menu to get you back up to baseline feeling really good. And now it's a practice. It's not, unfortunately, not something that just happens overnight. It is a practice. And that's okay. So to create a self-care menu, I think I've put a sample of one of mine, and yours does not need to be this extensive. This has been built over a period of time because self-care is my hobby. In the notes I gave you, there is just a page with a sample menu in the notes I gave you. And basically, it just says, here's what my own self-care menu looks like. It's something that's always evolving as I continue to lean into what's working, and not what's no longer serving me. If I just don't want to do it anymore, I'm not going to. And as I said before, the goal is having feeling good as being the baseline or default way of being most of the time. Yours does not need to be this extensive. It's just adding in one little thing at a time. And it's getting curious about what makes you start to feel more like you and more like yourself. And it's fun. It really is fun. So we divide self-care into 3 different areas. So physical care, headspace care, and heart space care. And the goal here is to have some things under each of these headings. And I've got a page in there if you want to scribble some notes of anything that comes up that you might be interested in looking into. Under each of those headings, have some things that you like to do that make you feel good, make your physical body feel good, headspace feel good, and heart space feel good. And when all of those are working in connection, I mean, we're not 10 out of 10 all the time, but you'll start to know when you're feeling off where it's out. Is it a physical thing? Is it a headspace thing? Is it a heart space thing? And what may I be able to pick up to kind of get back into alignment? So those 3 things working in unison is where we have our feeling good. Our default way of being is feeling good. So physical care, this is the obvious one is movement for everybody. And again, this is something to be cleared by your medical team first. But it is finding ways that you like to move your body, that you enjoy moving your body. It can be, I have something I discovered recently, and it sounds really, really tacky, but I don't care because it works. It's called a wonder walk. Like, what a wonder walk. So basically going for a walk, and you can create a couple of different playlists. This is I like a good podcast, but you can also put some inspirational music on a playlist and play this while you're walking. And it could be anything that I have a friend who is a 240 kilo male, and he has Britney Spears, he has got Frank Sinatra, a mix of songs on here because that lifts his energy and makes him feel good and makes him happy. So if you like power ballads, if you like songs from shows, you can have a private list of all of the songs that make you feel really good, because music lifts our spirit, music lifts our energy and really helps us to feel good. And so when we're walking at the same time that we've got that happening, it's the most amazing way. And I say wonder walk because it just helps you to see the world in a little bit more color when you're walking along with your favorite music in your ear. And it could be meditation music, it could be spiritual music, it could be classical, whatever it is that makes you feel good. And it's not necessarily, do I like this song? It's how does this make me feel? And if it's anything less than good and excited, then it goes. So you can be really selective about what you put on your playlist. And then there's other ways of movement. Obviously, if it suits, if your medical team clear you for it, and you need some basic strength training, there are some amazing online programs to start to feel stronger again. But my coaching tutor loves to do belly dancing. So she rocks out to belly dancing every morning for 20 minutes, and she loves it, and it makes her feel amazing, and that's what she does. So I'm inviting you to get curious about what might be fun. Might it be dancing? Might it be Pilates? If it's something you wanted to have a go at, book it in and just go and have a go and see how it feels for you. You might discover something really great. But again, it's allowing your body to move in a way that feels good for you, because that is about creating that connection, that mind and body connection. And if you're not enjoying it, and again, if it's not making you feel good, this is not about how we look with the movement, it is about how it makes us feel. And if it's anything less than good, then we don't do it. The physical care also includes things like supplementation, and obviously that's one to check with your medical team and a naturopath that can understand anything that does and doesn't integrate with medications in any way. Supplementation, all those sorts of things that feel good for you. If there's any type of way of eating you've been curious about, and I don't promote any diets, but if there's anything a way you've been curious about doing, then it's time to just have a little bit of research on what feels good for you. Headspace care. So this is looking after what's between our ears. So if you feel like maybe now's the time to look at any kind of counseling or any kind of coaching, if there's some festering things, you go, you know what, now's the time to just sort this out. It's time to get curious about that. There are lots of different coaching ideas. There are, I do a lot of work with people who are they want to change careers. They've been through this journey and I want something new and I don't know where to start. Do I want to retrain? Do I want to do some education, some kind of certificate or some kind of course, just because I'm interested in it? I believe we've all got this thing inside of us, just this pull to do something. There's just a thing that we've all pulled towards. And we've probably been ignoring it for a really, really long time. But I think we all have this pull of, oh, I just really want to do that thing. There's this thing that I really want to do, and I feel that in there. And that pull is where you should be going. And it doesn't, there's no destination with it. It doesn't matter how. Is it just investigating some kind of course or talking to somebody that's already doing the thing that you want to do or has the thing that you want to have? There's just so many options for that. And again, that's the way of getting that baseline feeling good up, because you feel it makes you happy, that pull of that thing deep inside. Mine was always coaching. So when I started learning about it, I'm like, wow, here's the happy, there's a thing in all of us, and it's just worth spending some time pondering what that might be. So then heart space, which is my favorite. This is looking after here, the soul, the connection to self, and it is fostering some kind of spiritual connection of your own understanding, whatever that means for you. It's time to go a little deeper. I always encourage people is it some journaling you'd like to try, to set the alarm for 5 minutes and just journal, write whatever's coming out with no judgment. Right. This is an amazing therapeutic process, and something that you can really start to look forward to. It doesn't have to make sense. It's just getting it out, getting those feelings out, whether it's happiness or anger or gratitude or whatever it is. Journaling is amazing. And the other amazing thing with journaling is to keep it. And then a year later or several months later, just go back and have a nosy over what it is that you wrote. And you can kind of see your growth, and you can see how you've changed and how you've evolved. It's a really, really wonderful tool. Meditation is something else. I know, and again, that's a practice. If people are curious about trying meditation, about the stillness and about the connection, and that's a practice too, but there's some great courses to show you how to do it. it is a wonderful way of relaxing the nervous system. Because I don't know about you, but my nervous system isn't permanently relaxed all the time. So it's a really wonderful way of calming that nervous system. Having a look at relationships in your world. Because again, I think the quality of life is essentially a reflection of the quality of your relationships, the most important one being this one. But are there any, what's working and what isn't working? Is there some relationship in your world that is nagging at you that you just think, oh, I want to fix it or I want to let it go? That can have a really big impact on our level of happy. Doing some kind of energy work if that resonates with you, whether it is Reiki work or hypnosis, or there's such a plethora of ways and means out there of the help and the healing and the helping to kind of maintain that happy. Just to have a little, again, being curious about it. Is there anything that you may have wanted to volunteer to do, or another one I got into this year, and you'll probably laugh because everybody else in my life has, is feng shuiing my home. I discovered a lady who did the whole energy balancing feng shui thing and had a mapping done and changed a few things around. And I swear one of my ADHD kids is karma, and I don't know if it's that or not, but it's made me feel good anyway, and happier and flow. So those are a few ways of ways and means of things just to start to think about and start to get curious about, or even if it's just having a go at different areas. So what you'll end up with is sort of a list under each heading of the things I might want to have a nosy at: physical care, headspace care, and heart space care. And all at once is just massively overwhelming. But if you just choose one area that feels good to kind of focus on, just one little thing to start incorporating into your world, and then building on it from there. So that at the end, you might be choosing a physical thing, a headspace thing, and a heart space thing every day. So that might be, for me, it'll be, say, a walk with a friend, a meditation practice or my coaching practice, and maybe some journaling. So then I've covered all my bases. So that's a bit of an overview of the things that you could possibly include. Does anyone want to share anything? Has anyone got any ways or means they've found to be really helpful to help with any of those areas? You don't have to. I'm just opening it up if anyone wants to share anything. No? Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I just want to ask you a question about mindfulness. I see loads of that about. I don't really understand it or what it's about, but is that a good thing?
Oh, great thing. Yeah, mindfulness is a wonderful thing too. And again, a lot of that is that comes under our heart space area of self-care. And again, mindfulness is a lot about getting curious about ourselves. It is just taking time to be more present. Mindfulness is really big in learning to be present in what we're doing, and to do things intentionally. So whether it is making a cup of tea, whether it is just sitting outside enjoying said cup of tea, mindfulness encourages us to be where we're at. And absolutely, yes, that's a great question. Because again, these days, it's a really hard thing to do. We're not where we're at so often. We're racing to the next thing, or we're just getting through the next thing to get to the next thing. So mindfulness is, but again, you create time for the mindfulness, as in the morning, I'm going to get up early before everybody else. I'm going to mindfully slowly make my cup of tea, and I'm going to sit in this particular place, and I'm going to consciously enjoy every sip. And it's taking advantage of noticing all of your five senses. So for example, it's how does it feel? How does it taste? How does it sound? Going through those questions with yourself with something really, really simple. It just brings you back to where you're at. So your mind is not in 5 or 6 different locations while you're trying to chug a cup of tea in the morning. And it feels really good because it does bring you back to center, and does it creates that awareness of self and self-connection, which I think half the time is what we sort of feel that we've lost, really. So yes, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Can I just tell you, Maria, I have had 60 years of PTSD,
Mhm.
and I have been to a psychologist, and that mindfulness stuff is absolutely amazing. And
Yeah.
you can sort of, you were saying before about your mind space and making sure that you do one thing at a time and concentrate on that one thing, and how sometimes your head is telling you one thing and it keeps on repeating. I couldn't even have a shower without something going on in my mind. But as soon as I learnt about the mindfulness, I was able to say, I don't need to think about that.
Thank you. That's a wonderful, wonderful comment, and a very, very, very true. And having a shower is another really great example, because we are connecting to our body, and especially after a cancer journey, it can be really hard, really hard. But it's giving yourself the space and permission to do that. And you're nowhere else. You're just in the shower. You're just with you, and you can feel, as you say, and I'm sure they went through this with you, is how does the water feel on my body? You know, it's not just cleaning my body. I can take this as my moment to clean my headspace and clear it out. And when you are dealing with other things, with PTSD or with any kind of trauma, we're not dismissing that at all, because it's important we deal with it, but we can put it over here just for a second and be here just for a second. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but often people will find that you can see that the trauma isn't actually part of you. It is here, and you are here, and it's not something that you necessarily need to carry in you all that time. It can be put here just for a second. And it makes it easier to reframe and easier to lovingly accept and lovingly deal with. Would that be a fair comment? I'm sorry. I can't
Yeah, I can't get my camera right.
Oh, okay, I thought it was me. Yeah.
But
No,
I'm loving seeing you all.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's a wonderful comment to add, because we can't just, sometimes people can perceive these practices as being, oh, it's just a little bit silly or a bit this or a bit that. But honestly, the consistency with those, and in mindfulness, yeah, as I said, mindful, I could probably call the heart-based care mindfulness as well, because it is mind.
I think you're right, actually.
Pardon?
I think you're right. There's a lot that I've been listening to you, and there's so much about the mindfulness. All those three things could actually come in mindfulness.
Yeah. Well, our mind isn't actually up here, which is fascinating. I was listening to a really good speaker the other day on this. It's easy to think your mind is your brain, but it isn't. Your mind is in here. It's almost like your soul. It's not. You can't physically locate your mind. You know, your brain is not your mind. And so we have to take really good care of that. And again, it is a choice. And the other thing I would say is notice any resistance you have to caring for the soul, to caring for that. Because sometimes that's when the issues, as I spoke up, that negative self-talk can come up. If you take a second to go, hold on, I'm making myself wrong again. And we might have been doing it for such a long time you don't even notice. It's a case of going, where am I feeling uncomfortable with caring for myself? Is it a deserving thing? Is it a worthy thing? And I know those are not comfortable conversations to have with yourself, but the growth is just on the other side of the discomfort. Because we all deserve to feel good as a baseline way of being. I don't think anyone would disagree with me there. And it can be a little frustrating to get through these blocks that we have, but it's just noticing them and not judging them. It's just going, oh, okay, well, I have a block. I want to care for this part of myself, but I've just got this bit that feels a bit squirmy against it and doesn't want to let me believe that about myself. And that's a whole nother coaching session, because again, everything, you know, all our belief systems are a choice. We choose every single thing we believe. And
has any of the other ladies tried Zentangle?
Tried what, sorry?
Zentangle.
I've never heard of that.
Okay, Zentangle is a way of mindfully doodling.
Exactly. So we're deliberately stopping something that's really not serving us and not feeling good. And we have a tool right there, and that's an amazing one, of instantly bringing us back to center. And so that's a great idea. So ladies, I just encourage everyone to try to find your tool, that when we have those thoughts that start going and those thoughts that can start spiraling, to go, wait, that's not right. Is it true? Is it kind? Neither. So we're going to bring ourselves back to center. Now, so I'm cramming a lot into one little session here today, so I'm sorry if I'm going fast. How do I get consistent with my practices? Now, to create lasting change, consistency is the key. We all know this. Whether it is saving money, whether it is going on an exercise journey, now understanding your personality and what works for you is a really important thing here. And this is always evolving and changing, and it might not be something you've given a lot of thought to over the years. So now it's your chance. Asking yourself things like, what time of the day am I most productive? Taking into consideration, I mean, right now, if anybody has treatments, you're probably getting an idea of when you need a rest and when you're starting to feel a little bit better. What time of the day works for me? So I'm an early morning person. I'm happy to be up at 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, and just head down and get down all the things I need to do, because I refuse to not do my self-care practice, and that's the time that's going to work. You might be a night owl. That's when you can schedule in your time. When can I schedule uninterrupted time for my self-care? So that might be first thing. It might be broken down a little bit over the day. I might do my journaling early, walk after lunch, but it's booked in. Would I prefer to do it all at once? Would that make me feel set up and good? Or would I prefer to break it down over the course of the day? A really great idea is to sit down and have a weekly meeting with yourself. And usually it works best on a Sunday night or a Monday morning. And you can have a look at your week and actually physically book in your self-care time. Any appointments that you have, and ask yourself things like, how is my energy at the moment? And I have a whole nother session on just energy, but how is my energy out of 1 to 10? How is my movement going 1 to 10? How's my headspace? How's my heart space? There might have been things that happened in the week that's affecting one of those areas. There might have been old stuff coming up again that's affecting one of those areas. But it's just important to take a step back and notice this stuff. And then go, right, what do I need to get myself back to feeling good again? And what do I need? Do I need rest? Do I need good food? Do I need a laugh with a friend? Do I need to go away for a weekend by myself? Do I need to go walking in nature or sit in nature for a little bit? Do I need to start doing things like the scribble drawing or painting or more music? What used to make me really happy when I was a child? What makes me joyful? And just commit to putting some more of that into your world. Excuse me. And as I just said, a fear of, if there's something comes up saying I've got no time, then notice that is that the resistance you're having? Is it because I don't think I have any time to do these sorts of things? Do you not have any time, or have I got resistance around prioritizing my self-care? Just get really honest about it, and no one's judging you. It is just time to get honest about that sort of thing. And with consistency, you'll start to see your overall wellness kind of increases, your energy increases, your head and heart start to feel stronger, and you gain clarity. And then that's where that real confidence comes from. Not the pretendy confidence, but the real confidence. And it's a really great tool, so that when life gets lifey, and we might have a day we're not feeling we're feeling afraid or scared, or oh my gosh, this has happened, or oh my gosh, what might happen again? We've got these tools to bring ourselves back up to feeling good and acknowledging everything that we are feeling. So the weekly meeting with yourself is a really, really great tool as well. And as I said, Monday morning for me is my time. I sit down and open my diary and taking something off my list or my menu, and that can change too. So you might wake up and go, right, I'm not feeling like doing that strength workout. I'm going to go for a walk. Or I'm actually not going to do that today. I'm going to do 2 things from somewhere else. So you can plan it out however you want. And it'll start to become fun and start to become enjoyable. And then you start to find other areas and other things that you may like to include as you go along. And again, building confidence to try new things and to add in other things. The other when I was talking earlier about working on this relationship, it's all in about adding in more, not taking anything out. It's adding in more fun and more connection and more love and more joy. Not taking anything away, because when you keep adding in the good, sometimes less desirable habits and things we may have, they just naturally kind of fall away as we evolve. So does anyone have anything else they'd like to add? Anything that's worked for you? Anything that you've found really helpful? You don't have to. I just thought I'd open it up again.
Hi, it's Rachel here. I can't get my camera to work, so apologies. I just wanted to say thank you very much. I think this has been a really good session, and there's some really cool ideas here. I can really relate to the busyness, and I think before I got sick, I don't think I really had an appreciation of how busy I was and how sidelined me had become. If that makes sense, I've got 3 kids, and it was in business, and if I ever sat down to just have my lunch, I would feel guilty. I'd kind of got myself into that space, and being sick and then coming right and hearing about all these mindfulness things and meditation and just focusing on me, and for me it's been really a focus, or to begin with, of turning off that negative talk. And that negative talk can just be, I don't have time to sit down and have my cup of tea. If I want a cup of tea, I can drink it while I'm clearing my inbox, or I'll do it, I'll sip it in between these calls I have to make, or while I'm making the kids lunches, or blah 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 blah. That's the point I'm trying to make, is I wasn't even aware really that I was doing that until I kind of stopped. And then now I look back and just think, God, no wonder I was always tired and stressed and feeling really bad about myself, because I wasn't treating myself how I wanted to be treated.
Mm.
So I think just taking that step, and I kind of, the stuff that you're talking about just rang true for me with that. So I just thought I'd add that.
That's really powerful.
I'm so glad you said that. Thank you very much. It is so true for so many of us here, is that you don't realize how much you're doing the doing and not being the being. And so much of you can get sidelined, as a mum, or all of in the busyness, let alone when you go through a cancer journey and you go, wait, where did I go? Where am I? What's going on? And the good news is you didn't go anywhere. You're still here. But it is getting curious again about, where am I now? And what do I like? And it is making those pockets of time. And as you just mentioned, Rachel, it was such a good point, in that when you're not doing anything for that connection to self, you do get annoyed, and you get resentful, and you get stressy. And I mean, we all do, that's part of life, but that inner resentment, it's not a nice place to be. You're carrying it around all day long. And the more you do practice these sorts of things, and taking care of the different areas of yourself, it becomes a priority, because you feel yourself coming back again. And I mean that from a soul level. You seeing yourself again, and you start to be really honest. I'm going through I've been doing this for a really long time. I'm getting to a day where I went, I really like who I am. And I almost felt guilty saying that, because we've trained ourselves to not put ourselves out there, or not put ourselves forward, or not, because what does that mean? If I decide I like myself, what does that mean with all the things I've been saying for years and years? And actually, I'm owning my own narrative. I really do. I genuinely do. And that was so exciting. I thought, oh my gosh. And that's one of the other reasons I kept going with coaching. I thought, man, imagine if everyone got to feel like that, regardless of whatever happened, whatever traumas happened, that I got to feel that way. And now I get to show my kids how to feel that way at this age. So
I think, sorry, I was just going to say, I reckon that is the biggest bit for me, is the difference I see in my kids now that I'm looking after myself, they appreciate that too. And it's modeling good behavior, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Because even though these days there is TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and all of the things, and I guess we can logically go, most of that is highlight reels, and most people only post the nice pictures and the da-da-da-da, or the extreme pictures in some way. But we also have a sense of real life because we haven't always had that. Whereas this generation of kids have had screens the whole time for the most part. So it is really teaching that self-connection and what's real and what isn't. So yeah, that's such a good point you make. Thank you very much.
Cool. Anika, would you have any, like the 3 areas that you've got, the physical care, the headspace care, and the heart space care, do you think, is there any one in particular that you think is better to start with, or is it just down to each individual?
It's down to each individual. And that's why I just encourage everyone just to do a bit of a brainstorm in your own time on each area. And we're all going to have areas that we like and enjoy more than others. There's some people, that might know, I know I need to go and get some counselling on X, Y, and Z. And that's never going to be a fun process. However, you also know, as I said, that the growth is right on the other side of it. But you also might want to start with some movement if you're feeling up to it and you're feeling at a stage where that's going to make a difference. All of these things are just as important as each other. So it's important just to start or pick one that does resonate with you and where you're at, so that it creates that momentum. You've got to start with something you like, right? So that you're going to stick with it and be consistent. And again, I think that, as I said, they're all just as important as each other. So whichever one you start with, you can't really go wrong. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add? No? Cool. No, well, ladies, thank you so much. Just to conclude, I rocketed through to give you as much information as I could today. But I think the key takeaways today is that, and I rabbit on about this all the time, but I do like it to be understood, is that the most important relationship you ever have is the one with yourself. And if we don't nurture that relationship and prioritize that relationship, you've got to live in here 24/7. And if we don't nurture that and take care of that and take responsibility for that relationship, then we just don't feel we feel a sense of discord. And I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about, that sense of discord. And so hopefully I've given you some ways and means here, some tools of working on that real confidence. I mean, we can all put on our makeup and we can get dressed and we can face the world. And that's faking it till you make it is an amazing way of gaining some confidence too. But I also want to go talking about that real good, solid, genuine inner confidence. And as I said, it comes from the commitments honouring the commitments we make to ourselves on a regular basis. And those commitments have got to be the self-discipline of putting in place some of these things that we know are going to make us feel good and raise our energy and keep us on that baseline of feeling good. So when you have some time, just have a little nosy through your notes and just start a bit of a brainstorm on some things that might, and you don't have to do anything traditional exercise or what have you. As I said, that a very dear friend of mine is right into belly dancing. You never know, that could be your thing. But is it horse riding? Is it whatever it is? And think back to when you were a child and what made you happy and what made you feel like time just flew. And the busyness of life is a real fact. But again, putting in, I can confirm this, is booking in that time for the self-care, honestly, will make the busy less. It will make the busy less. I mean, the amount of stuff you have to do doesn't change, but it just seems to flow better because you've taken care of this connection first.
Would you suggest going through counselling first before kind of going through this, or working through this at the same time?
I think both at the same time. I think the fact that you have acknowledged this and you know it's hard for you is amazing, and it's a huge, big step forward. And it's all very easy to say, oh, well, there's things that you can do. You can wear a wig, you can get a prosthesis, blah, 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 blah. But that's not dealing with it on this level.
No, exactly.
You physically look like you have a breast and the hair, but then you're not dealing, you know it's not there, and that's what's important. So maybe potentially some psychotherapy type counselling just to help you come to terms with that and whatever plan that you've decided works for you going forward. But that combined with coaching could be really good. If that can, you can start to work through the tools of around all of that self-acceptance, and it is a big one. You know, it's a big one. It's not something to be discounted. You're losing. I remember that I'll straight up, as soon as they said to me, well, you've got it in your lymph nodes and you're going to need 6 months of chemo, my first question was, well, I mean, what about my hair? I mean, what about my life? I was saying, what about my hair? And I look back and I go, oh, Anika, how embarrassing. But that was what my concern was, because it was important to me. And so I think it's amazing that you brought that up, and so many women feel that way. And it's a really important thing to gain some clarity around, because it's you, and you look in the mirror every day and you're living in here all the time. And so to have some tools, I think it's a really great thing. And coaching combined with that, win-win. Sorry, coaching combined with some counselling around it, win-win. Yeah, because they can find out your personal triggers, might not be the right word, but your personal triggers for those sorts of feelings, which might be different from somebody else's and somebody else's. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that mindfulness will really help you.
Thank you.
You know, because I know how you feel. When I didn't want to lose my breast, I thought that I wouldn't feel like a woman anymore. And I have had to use the mindfulness and say to myself, well, actually, I still am a woman. And I had to keep on reminding myself and try and do feminine things, enjoying putting the makeup on. I went to the look good, feel good, and I was determined to just have a nice little routine, putting putting all the toner and all that kind of thing on. And it obviously didn't replace my breast, but it did give me a little bit of something.
Yeah.
And I think you're very brave.
Thank you.
I think everybody is. That's the bottom line. Is you don't. Why I love these classes so much, is because you don't know how brave you are until it's the only choice you've got. And but people would say, "Oh my gosh, you're so brave. I couldn't do that." And I say, "Well, I kind of have to." You would, but you have to do it. But it is. Those things are not. They are not vain to say, and they are not vain to want. You know, that I would absolutely. And I think if I'm told out there, and it doesn't necessarily need to be 6 months of weekly counselling. It could be somebody who can get into your head and really quickly and give you these tools to help you, you know, come to terms with that you're okay for you. And I think that would be great. And I'm sure there's probably someone else listening right now that's thinking the same thing.
Cool.
So thank you for being brave enough to bring that up. So it was that. You can unmute yourself if you want to talk. Yeah. I'm sorry, you're on mute.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
I just wanted to thank you. You've reinforced all sorts of lovely things today. So thanks very much.
You are so very welcome. I'm so glad that you came. I love this. I've got topics for Africa and I could talk about it all day long.
No.
Thank you very much, ladies. It was so nice to see you all, and I hope to see you again soon.